This is a yoga tune-up therapy ball sequence for the shoulders and rotator cuff. The rotator cuff refers to muscles that organize the function and movement of the shoulder. So let's have a little mini anatomy lesson to just go over the muscles that we're going to be rubbing out. There's 4 muscles of the rotator cuff itself, but then we're also going to add in 2 bonus muscles at the end that also are related to the shoulder. So let's understand the shoulder bones. Shoulder bone number 1 is the clavicle. This is the collarbone. Go ahead and touch your own collarbone. It's that long, snaky bone at the front of the chest. Then we have the long bone of the arm. This is called the humerus. And then we have the triangular-shaped bone on the back. This is called the scapula. Right here is a ledge on your shoulder blade. It's an outcropping, and this is a really important location for us because the first rotator cuff muscle is directly above this spine of the scapula in this gutter. It's called the supraspinatus. It moves your arm out to the side. It hooks onto actually the head of the humerus here. Then there's 2 other muscles on the back of the shoulder blade that are technically rotator cuff muscles. There's the infraspinatus and the teres minor. They both string out and also hook onto the head of the arm bone. And when they contract, they spin your arm bone backwards. They're your external rotators. The 4th muscle of the rotator cuff is right in front of the shoulder blade bone. It's called the subscapularis. It also hooks onto the head of the humerus, and when it contracts, it rolls your arm bone in. And you can find it by taking your thumb and sticking it right up into your armpit, sort of wiggle around there. Yeah, you've got nerves in there, but you can just squirm the thumb around until you're in contact with something that feels pretty hard, and then turn your arm bone in, and you should feel that tissue tighten.
There it is.
Exactly. So it's not the lat, which is out here, but it's right up against,
Deep in there, yeah.
through the axilla, through that armpit. Great. Then there's 2 more muscles that we're going to rub out for fun and games. You'll know when we get there how fun it is. One is underneath the collarbone. It's called the subclavicular muscle. It goes underneath the collarbone and connects with the first rib. And that's one of your stress muscles of respiration. If you breathe like this a lot, and many of us do, many of us live kind of in a startle reflex, or say you have asthma or emphysema, or you busted your shoulder at some point, this muscle's going to get short and tight, as is the muscle, the last muscle that we're going to roll out. It's called the pec minor. It hooks onto the front of the shoulder blade here. So the shoulder blade actually wings around here to this bit and hooks into 3 of your ribs. And when you have a really tight pec minor, it will roll your shoulder inward, and you'll end up having a posture that looks like this, which is actually a really inefficient posture, especially if you like to do push-ups. This is a candidate for, eventually, for a tear and inflammation at the shoulder joint. Let's do our check-in first, shall we? That way we can actually find out if the shoulder is actually changing. So grab your brick instead. You just sit here, right here, put your ball down. Let's do our yoga tune-up check-in. And all I want you to do is keep your spine upright and then reach your arms up overhead, keeping your elbows as straight as possible. So we're just checking in to find out how much range of motion we have in shoulder flexion. See how far back you can move the brick without distorting your spine, keeping your elbows straight. Good, that's enough. That's our check-in, just a little taste test. Put the brick down and then take your yoga tune-up ball and lay on your back. We're just using 1 ball for now, and you want to place the ball above the left shoulder blade. Once you do that, you want to lift your pelvis up so that you can angle the body so that most of your body weight is thrown into this gutter here. Now, if this is stressful for your back or for your thighs, you can always take the brick and place it underneath your sacrum in order to protect your back. We're going to go along the grain. And the way we do that is we make a little shimmy, a little side-to-side movement that takes the ball and literally rolls it in this gutter. So cracking is not unusual. The shoulder blade is actually rubbing up against ribs, and sometimes if that's not a perfect fit, you'll hear little bumps like that. So keep your arm just flaccid, and I just want you to move the rib cage so that the ball rolls along this gutter. And we're breathing. Try to get more distance going, Amy, so that the ball actually takes a journey further and further out towards the side here. Feel where my thumb is. So we want to try to get the ball to gutter its way into there. Good. Now, keep the ball pinned somewhere in that supraspinatus alley. And very slow motion, inhale, snow angel arm, your arm up, not up to the sky, but along the ground. You're snow angeling, yes. And on exhale, you bring that arm back down. You inhale, the arm reaches up. And on exhale, it very elegantly and slowly comes back and down. Now, it's not just the supraspinatus we're getting here. Obviously, there's another big muscle that lies over that. That's the trapezius, and we tackled that in the upper back series as well. Good, this is your last time. You exhale, you bring the arm back down. And now we want to do our contract relax technique. We want to activate the muscle. And the way we do that is you pretend that you're holding onto something heavy like a kettlebell, and on inhale, you make it difficult to reach your arm up towards the sky, or rather, up above your head. And at the same time, your shoulder blade moves down towards your buttocks or towards your kidney, yes. And on exhale, the arm comes down and back. So you inhale, the shoulder blade moves down as you lift that psychic kettlebell up over your head, and on exhale, you bring it back and down. And that's enough. Good, change sides, take the ball and plant it to the other side. And first we start with that shimmy motion. So you roll from side to side, getting the ball to scale into that. Great. So right away you notice, oh, now I'm on my right side. It either feels more tender or less tender. Often there's difference from side to side, right? We have asymmetry. We discovered in our spine we had an asymmetry. There'll also be a difference in the amount of mass and the amount of tension we have from one shoulder to another. Good, let's go ahead and inhale, sweep the arm up overhead slowly. And on exhale, you sweep the arm back and down, snow angeling. If you can keep your arm on the ground, Amy, try to do that so that you're disburdening that arm even more. You inhale, up and over you go. And on exhale, down and back. You're going to do one more snow angel very lightly, and then I want you to do that contract, relax technique where you activate the muscle. Now, if you're feeling nervy here, if you feel like electricity or hot heat that feels zappy, that's nerve. And I want you to move the ball slightly away from that area, uptown, downtown, maybe into the next neighborhood, because we don't ever want to feel like we're hitting a zappy nerve. You guys doing the kettlebell-ish technique now, that contract, relax? Good. Last time you exhale, it comes down. So when you come out of a position, if you feel a feeling of relief, release, warmth, good, relaxation, that's all signs that the discomfort that you were experiencing while you were there with the ball was actually good pain. But if when you take the ball away, the sensation that you had, the discomfort that you had increases, it gets worse, then you know that actually that was bad pain, and you probably should seek medical help and discontinue using the balls. But if you're feeling like, wow, I feel a tremendous amount of relief right now, and I feel better, then we're on to something. And so we're going to move on. We're going to go into the infraspinatus and the teres minor. So what you'll do is you'll take the yoga tune-up ball, and now you have to find your own left shoulder blade. So you're going to place that ball right in the center of that shoulder blade. It's not on the spine, it's not on the ribs. Remember, we already did that in the upper back sequence. Your shoulder blade is further off to the side of the body than you think it's going to be. And then you'll throw your knees off to the left. So the ball is on top of that left shoulder blade. Yes. And I'll come over and check yours and just keep your head on the ground, exactly. And then throw your knees off to the left so that you load as much of your body. I think you're on it, Jesse, because that's definitely that's the infraspinatus sound. Yeah. Yes. So we're a little bit high and a little bit too much inland. There we go. Yeah, so then his eyeball is just popped open, bright. You can. That's that's the infraspinatus stare.
So it's out further than I thought.
It's out further than you think it's going to be. It's a weird thing. Your shoulder blades have been there your whole life, but for whatever reason, we lack a lot of perception there. And so one of the things that the yoga tune-up therapy balls do for our bodies is they help to bring awareness to important tissues. These are tissues that mean a lot to the function of your body. But if we don't know where they are, and if we sort of lose touch with them, we start actually losing touch with parts of our brain and parts of ourself. So you're actually getting smarter right now. So let's heighten our intelligence right now. And what I want you to do, you've been tased right now. This is called the tased position. This is just sustained compression, and you're breathing. But we can also go along the grain. We can shimmy. And the way you shimmy for this this infraspinatus and teres minor, is you'll take the ball or rather you'll take your body and you'll just rock from side to side so that the ball essentially erases pain or brings awareness to sensation on the back of that shoulder blade. Then we can also chug. We can make that up and down rolling pin type of movement so that the ball rubs up and down. If you feel like the ball's not moving or that you're not getting enough friction, you're not moving enough. So Amy and Jesse both are using their feet. They're creating this push-pull of their feet on the mat, and so their body just ends up jostling like living jello over the ball. Then we can also be still and start to create seaweed arms or phantom arm movements. So the arm comes up and it just moves in every single exploratory range that it can. It internally rotates, it externally rotates, it adducts, it flexes. And remember, this isn't choreography. None of us are professional ballerinas, but we are people who like to live well in our body. So we want to explore every uncontacted corner of the surface of the back of those rotator cuff muscles. And then let's add in the subscapularis. So this is called the subscapularis sandwich, guys. And what you'll do is you'll take your right hand thumb and you'll stick it into the armpit. Remember how we felt that internal rotator earlier? Yes, so you find that same tissue, and if you're not sure whether or not you have it, you can twist your arm bone in to create a contraction there. Now, this muscle is one of the most overworked muscles on the body. This is the muscle that keeps your arm twisted in when you're at your computer and when you're holding onto a steering wheel or lifting your kid or lifting your groceries or hauling anything. It's just overused all the time. So we want to rub that thing out and loosen it. So you can keep your thumb there. Your thumb is like a mini yoga tune-up ball right now, and then you move your arm all around while you're pinned into that tissue. And everybody's breathing, right? Breathing in and out. The exhalation does help to drain some of that stress from the tissue. If you're at home and you're loving this, please stay longer, but we're going to move on to the other side now. So take your yoga tune-up ball and move it to the other side. Now remember, if this is too much, go ahead and go to the other side, guys, and do your tased position. If it's too much, you can always take the two balls, put them in the tote bag so that there's less pressure. Remember, two balls disperses pressure. One ball concentrates and condenses pressure, so it's more intense. So you make that shimmy, moving from side to side. That's going along the grain. Or we can make the chug movement, that rolling pin action, so that the ball goes up and down. Jesse, relax your left hand fingers.
Flat like this?
No, just let your arm relax. Yeah, oftentimes when you're rolling and you're getting into tight spots, other parts of your body will start to seize up. This is actually called overflow. And I call this accessorizing the pose. Well, you don't need to hold onto a handbag here while you're doing the rolling, right? But really what that represents is unconscious tension in other parts of the body. And when we're rolling out, we really want to go ahead and use your phantom arm movements right now, the seaweed arms. The right arm is doing the phantom. When we're rolling, we want to create conditions in the whole body that induce relaxation. And so if one other part of the body, like say one part of your face is tightening up, or you've got this weird claw thing happening, we have to be conscious of trying to continue to let go. All right, take your left hand now, that thumb, and make your subscapularis sandwich and dock it into that armpit. My eye's on you, sir.
I know.
And you want to start to explore different directions of movement. Yeah, rolling the arm bone in, crossing the arm across, making circles, and dig in.
Oh, that's great.
You know you need it. You know you need it. So the ball on the underside is helping to massage into those external rotators, and excellent. Good, and release. Now, I promised you there'd be a bonus. There are bonus muscles. We're about to roll into them. So for this, we're going to change our position just a little bit. And so you want to get down onto your knees. And for this, you're going to need to use a block and just one of the yoga tune-up balls. So we also do this same sequence up against the wall if being on your knees is painful for you, or if you have a lot of mass in the chest, or for any reason being in this position is stressful in any way. It's a wonderful alternative to do this on the wall, and I personally love to do it both ways because you get something out of both orientations. So what you'll do is you'll take the ball and you're going to place the ball directly on that subclavicle area that's just adjacent to your sternum at the uppermost portion of the ribs, but not in your throat. Please don't put the ball in your throat. That's going to hurt. We want to have the ball just below the clavicle, and eventually the ball is going to make its way out to this seam here where the shoulder meets the rib cage on that pec minor area. So the ball is placed on that brick, and then you'll pin the ball just underneath the collarbone and let your head hang. Let your body weight sink in, and then you can shift from side to side, creating that shimmy action. And of course, you want to breathe and try to let the ball pry open the soft tissues that are harboring probably some amount of tension up here. So you can shift from side to side. You can also lift and lower your shoulder blade to try to open up and access that space there. Let your head drop, Jessie, as much as possible. You too, Amy. Then you can also try to move your arm around many different directions. It's the right arm that we're moving, exactly. Try to keep the block from moving around, Jessie, if you can. You may want to move your knees back just a little bit more. Good, and then let's scroll over into the pec minor. So you roll the ball a little bit further off to the side, and again, let your head drop, and then begin to move your arm in as many different directions as you possibly can conceive of. Try to take your breath up into the uppermost portion of the lungs, into that cupula of the lungs, the highest point in there. Yes, and you want to do this without stressing the neck. So as best as you can, let the head hang. And then let's go over to the other side. So the ball now is pinned just underneath that left collarbone. And arrange yourself so that you can let weight drop in there. Let your head drop, and then shift from side to side. Now, if you've ever had chest surgery or breast surgery, it's really important to regularly roll out so that we can help the fascias and the connective tissues and the scarring that has resulted from being cut be realigned and help to lay a little bit more smoothly, unkink, so to speak, in this area of the body. When this area has scarring, it tends to pull the shoulders forward, and that keeps us in a little bit of a slump, and ultimately that's a bad scenario for the neck. So this is a way to iron out those kinks of your birthday suit so that things are organized again and again. Go ahead and get to that pec minor, and then again, let's take the arm and roll around, making as many different movements as possible, and of course, breathing up in there. Now, when you're on the wall with this, you may find there's more options for your arms. Every environment, every gravitational orientation has its gifts. All right, folks, sit back on your heels. Let's do our check-in, our recheck. Grab hold of the brick and reach your arms up overhead. And notice if there's more motion, less pain at the end range of motion, a feeling of release. Yeah, what's the difference?
So much more space. I feel like I could put my arms way back with my arms straight.
And so you are.
And before I could barely straighten my elbows, and they were forward.
You too, Jessie. A lot more open.
So much more space.
Great job. So I hope that you at home are also experiencing this increase in range, increase in space, and feeling of deep relief in the shoulders.